Hello friends. So are you struggling with too much of water ruining your watercolor painting? In this video, I will show you how one of the simple trick to control water like a pro. So you get soft blend without the mess and crisp edges exactly where you want them. So let's get into the secret of mastering water controlling watercolor. So to start with, I will just quickly create uh, a sketch for this painting. So I'm just creating a simple, um, a very simple sketch of some houses here, and it can be anything. I mean, so whatever you are painting, this particular uh, technique applies to everywhere. And I know many people are struggling with because uh, uh, when you paint watercolor, you see your your water controlling your watercolor is becoming so difficult, you know, most of the time. And if you are not able to control the water in your watercolor painting, then it's a kind of a little awkward situation where you'll find your watercolor painting is going way too you know way too in a different direction because of certain reason, because there might be several uh, factor included into this. So I'm just creating this sketch. So this is the one vehicle standing next to this, and next to this house one person here standing. Probably he's going to start, and he is having one more human's figure here. I'm just creating one simple sketch here, and in a backdrop there might be some houses, etc. Right, and this is might be some other houses here in other side of it. So the reason I'm just creating this sketch because this will give us a foundation for this painting, right? So here is the one, and down there might be one more person here, right? So very quickly we just made this sketch. Okay, so now this is your subject, and now you wanted to paint this, right? And I completely understand that when we, as a beginner, or even people who's working for a long time, they find it very difficult. How much water you should have in your painting, how much water you should pick from your color palette, and the water. So this is something very critical, very important aspect of creating watercolor art. This is what I'm going to demonstrate here in this painting. So before applying the color into this painting, I have one question to you. Do you want to paint something like this? And if your answer is yes, then I would request you to check my Patreon membership. This will not just give you the foundation of watercolor painting, but it gives you a tremendous amount of energy, tremendous amount of motivation, tremendous amount of the value you wanted to bring in your art journey, watercolor art journey specifically. So I request you to please check that my Patreon membership and be part of this journey with me. And I'm sure after that you will have an amazing time with this watercolor art journey, which will not only take your watercolor painting in a next level, it also gives you an ability to transfer any kind of the creative the creative desire you have. You can bring them, you can transform them into the paper in through the watercolor. So check that out, link I've given in the description. And this is the kind of way to support me to create more painting like this for you. So check that out. So to make the things a little more simpler, I'm just keeping this water right here. So this will give you the complete idea how much water basically I'm picking up, right? So this is the first layer we are working on. So how much water? So I have just, since this paper is pretty small, it's a quarter sheet of paper, almost like a A4 size of paper. So I've used a smaller mop brush. So I, let's say if I wanted to start for right from here, how much water? So see the volume of water I'm just taking, because you're working on the first layer here, and in a first layer it requires, so there's a, it's a paper, right? And the paper has a certain amount of cotton into it, so it absorbs a lot of water. So it requires a lot of water to absorb into your very first layer. So that's important for you to use a lot of water in your first layer. So now I'm just taking this water, and I'm using this burnt sienna, and now you see I'm just mixing this color, and I'm also taking a little bit of um ultramarine blue, just reducing the pigment. Now you see how much water I have. Now you see this, how much of water. I'm not taking a much water. Now, if I'll just take a little more water here, what happens? And this is where basically a lot of people are actually making a mistake. When I'm just taking, it becomes so lighter. So you should have a proper amount of balance, how much water you should have, right? So I have taken, if I've taken the couple of time water like this, then I have to take a little more color. Same thing here. So you'll have a certain amount of the deftness in your painting, otherwise it will look very light, right? So now you see I've just taken this, so you have a little light, I mean you have a color here. But imagine that if you have just taken a lot of water, let's, I'm just doing it here in this section. If I've just taken this much of water, I have just taken a very little color, like, and this is typically a lot of beginners basically they are making a mistake. So if I've just taken a lot of water here, what happens is, if I, let's take example, if I'll just take it here, this is becoming a very light, and when this get dry, okay, so this becomes a very light. But the amount of water you have taken is that also becomes a lot of water. And now see the lot of water actually came here, and any point of time it will just go and uh, I mean it will mix with other color as well. So it's important to have, you can just lift it the other color, like this color, but it's important to have a very subtle amount of water. So if I'm just doing it here right now, I will just take this much of color, and whatever the water was there, I'll just use the same thing. Let's take example, I'm just using uh, ultramarine blue here, and now I'm not taking much water here. Now I've just taken whatever it was there available, so I'm just taking the same thing in this one. And now I also want to take yellow ochre into this, so I've just taken this yellow ochre. Now so we are working on the first layer, right? So now if I want to take more color here, if I want to take a little more deeper, so whatever the, if I want to make it deeper, so my water would be a little lesser, and the color will be little higher pigment. So now see, I've just used it here. Now you have got a little darker color here, little darker pigment, right? Here we have a little darker pigment into this. The same thing here. If I want anything darker, so I can just take that up here. Now I want to have a different color here. I want to make it a little lighter. So if it is a lighter, then I will take, let's say I'm just taking this ultramarine blue. And if I want to have a lighter color here, I'll take a little more water. and I'll just pour it here in this section. So now the same color here, whatever it is left, I'm just using the same color. Now I wanted to paint this side, and this has to be a little darker because the light is coming from all the way from that side, this side, and this side will be a little darker. So all I'm just doing it, I'm using a lot of color here, and the water is very small. I mean, I will not take much water here. It's because I want to make this area more and more deeper. The pigments are pretty much deeper. You're getting right. So now see, everything I'm just mixed it here. I'm using a little water here in this section and a lot of color basically because I want to make this section darker. So and that's the reason I'm using little darker pigments here, right? And this section as well. I'm using lighter color of this again. Now I've just taken water here, a lot of water, and I've just all mixed it all together here. And the reason I've just left it this white here because we are going to paint the human shape here, so that's the reason I didn't paint it here. We'll also paint this section later on. Possibly you can just we can work now also. So I'll make this a windshield of this vehicle. Now see, water I've just used it in very less because whatever it was left, I'm just using the same thing basically. And now since this is going to be white, so I'm just giving a little shade here. Little dark pigment of this. So yeah, so this is what the first layer looks like and you understood how much water actually I have used here. Relatively, first layer it requires a little more water because your paper absorb the water, and that's required. That is why you need a little more water in your first layer. But whenever you need a little darker pigment, you need to have less water and more color in your brush when you're mixing it. So that is why you see here it's a darker pigment here, right? Let it dry, and once this get dry, we'll work on the second layer. Now we are in second layer. This is absolutely dried, and let's go ahead applying the very second layer into it, and you will understand how much water and the color you should be picking in second layer since we have completed the first layer. So there is a the tremendous amount of the shift happens when you do the second layer. How much water actually you are taking. This is all something we'll be learning in this particular section. Now, before starting this, I would request you to check my Patreon membership, support me there, and you can get tag benefit. Becoming a member of my watercolor community. I have a very strong global art community. People are learning from across the globe, and I'm sure being part of this community, you'll have an amazing time working with me and along with many other watercolor aspirants who want to be who want to paint watercolor in a next level. So please check that out, and let's move into this particular second layer. So now you see when I am just taking this second layer, so let's start from here. Light is coming from this side, so you need to have wherever you need to have a darker pigments like a shades. So at that point of time you need a deeper darker pigments, right? So I've just used this Bunsiana and ultramarine blue, and now you see I'm using very little water in my brush. Okay, very less water. And since I want to make this section having some shades and texture, so I'll just use that. Now you see I'm just making this section a little deeper, right? So there might be some ceilings and all that comes here into this, like this. And we have here now it's like we are having a we just wanted to have almost like a dry technique. So now you see like I'm not using water at all. I've just used this both hand. If you want you can just mop your brush like this. So whatever the color or water it is there, that will get mopped out, and you'll have a uh, very interesting texture into your painting. So that allows you to bring the kind of a texture you're looking for, right? So that's the great way of doing all that. And you can have a something like this, some texture if you wanted to bring in your painting, so that you can just do it here. Now I want to have some shades here since the light is coming from here and these ceilings are here, so that actually gives you a shade. So I'm using little water because I want a free flow texture here. So I've just used it here, something like this, right? And now the similar thing I want to have here as well. I'm just changing my brush here. So I want to have now the important part here in this section is I'm not taking a lot of water. Wherever I'm just making it, I'm just trying to make things a little more simpler, right? This is the roof of that house. So I'm just using yellow ochre and burnt sienna. Now again see I'm not using much water because I wanted to have some interesting texture here. I mean the shades. And whatever the color is left, I'm using only that. And I want to have a little darker pigments here in this section. Excuse me. So I'm just using the same thing here, a little texture in there. I hope you are getting what I'm just trying to do, right? If you have any question, you can just comment it. Let me know what you think. That's a great way to clarify your doubt. And now it's darker pigments here again. Maybe this is the another house here. And now see I'm not using water. Almost I wanted to have a dry sort of texture. So these windows, etc. Just wanted to bring in here. Okay. And now these buildings, which is far in distance, just an impression basically. And you must have seen my other videos also, how you should enjoy the working with the almost like an impression of your artwork, giving just an impression, not too much of detailed work. It's more like an impression. So that is that sort of things. Now you have here, since these buildings are here, so we just wanted to have some shade here, so that also you can just bring in here. So when you do something like this, now you see how much water, that's important to see. I'm just using this here. I need more uh, depth here. So I have used almost very less water. Now you see, I'm not even going more oftenly. Whatever water is left here, I'm just utilizing the only that itself. So and this is the now again I'm going to change my brush. I'm using ultramarine blue and burnt sienna again, and see, look, water is something. I've just very little water. See, it's a lot of water, and the best thing is like if you'll just give a dot and you have a slanting, it's not coming down at all. But if you'll just take a lot of water, it'll just come down, right? That's the great way to check how much water you have in your brush. That's a great way to uh, to make sure that okay, how much water basically I'm using it in my painting. So and now we have here these building, and that's an interesting thing. Now when I'm making this, I want to make this a little darker. So how much water I'm just using it? This is almost like a nothing. Very less water, and that allows me to get this kind of a depthness into my painting, right? So this allows me to take. Now I'm just using a little more water, a little water in my brush, and I wanted to leave this for signages or whatever the case. I'm just using that, and might be some few people here. Now see like how much water I'm just now I've started taking a little water, very little water. Now just putting a little tip into it. This is only this much of water I'm using it, right? And we just need to have a little depth here into this. There might be some people here in this street, and there are shade also because these things are actually falling into this, so that's required a shade of this entire thing. This buildings are you're getting right, so the shades are falling here into this. Now I'm using a little more water here because we need a more depth into this section and some texture here, some seeds. Right? Now I also use very contrast color here for our some of the human shape that we just wanted to bring in here. And let's work on this part as well, this vehicle. That's a windshield. And since we have this vehicle is actually white, so I want to make this as a depth here and there. That's all it'll work into this. So basically we just need to work on the bottom part of this. And now I'm just taking a little water, no more water. Every time you see, like, the water is very less in my brush. And the reason is we don't want to take a lot of water, because if you take a much water into this, then things will be a little, I mean, a lot of water will flow here, and that we don't want. So now I'll just give a little texture here and there. Right? And if you want more depth, so start mixing this two color together. Don't take much water. That's a fundamental of having this thing. And now let's work on the people here in this one. So one is this, and I'll just take a red color for this human shape. I'll use this color again. And okay, so let's use now. I'm just making this human shape, the trouser and all. Now I don't have much water in my brush, almost dried, right? And I'm just pouring a little depth here, and making things a little more obvious, giving legs, trouser and all those kind of detailing. Now I want to have a little more texture, so I'm just using it here and making a shade of these people. A little shade of this. Some windows, etc. We can just bring up here. Now same thing here. I'm using a little depth here for the trouser, etc. And very little detail here, just to giving some patch. Hope you're getting me. So what I'm just doing, excuse me, and this this side now you have little depth, right? So you need to have even little more deeper things like these texture sort of thing. And now see, it's like no water in my brush at all. There's no water at all. Just here and there some detailing, and we are almost done. So hope you enjoy this. If you have any question, let me know. You can just scratch it here a little bit. Very loose sort of work, and just at last we have some electric pole. That's typical, you get everywhere. And let's put the wire. Now I see how much water. It requires a little bit of water, and like this, and enjoy something doing like this. I hope this makes sense to you, how basically you should be using the how much water you should be using in your painting. So that's the end of it, almost like we just need to make things a little more obvious here with the face and all that. And yeah, so this is what it is. So thank you so much, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this. You understood what is how much water I have used. Uh, Please check my Patreon and join there. It's free to join, and I hope being with the journey in this watercolor, in your watercolor journey with me, that will bring a lot of improvement in your art and in your journey. So please check that out. Support me to create more videos like this. So it will be really, win-win situation for all of us. So thank you so much, and I will be coming with a new video very soon. Till then, take care, create more art, and enjoy, and be happy.